Hey developers, welcome to this techie tutorial. Today we're going to install PyCharm on Windows 10. So let's go find PyCharm. Open up your favorite browser, look for PyCharm, and JetBrains is the one that makes PyCharm, so click on that. That's the official website. And agree to the cookies and close the banner ads. You can click the download button up here or the download button in the center of the screen. And we have two different options. We got professional and we got community. And the main difference is professional has tools for developing basically websites. So you got HTML, JavaScript, and SQL support in the professional. And you also have Jupyter Notebook. It doesn't say it here, but you have Jupyter Notebook support in the professional where you do not in the community. So for that reason, I do recommend the professional, and you can download a free trial, or if you want to see actually how much it costs, you can go up to the buy button, the top right corner up here. Scroll down, PyCharm, $200 for the first year. Yeah, a little expensive, but that's for organizations. If you go down if you're just an individual developer, a freelance developer, you can click on the individual use up here, and for 1 year, it's only $89. And if you want to go monthly, it's only $8.90. I mean, $9 a month. That's reasonable. So, if you're interested, that's how much the professional version cost. Let's go back to the download button. Let's download the community. The free version doesn't have the extra features, but it's free. We'll go ahead and save it. And it's downloading, and I'll be back as soon as it's done downloading. Alright, PyCharm is done downloading here. Just click on the exe file. It should start the install process. Yes, I give PyCharm permission. And we'll just go with the default here. So we have a 64-bit system, so it's saying you want to create a desktop icon. Sure. Context menu. Let's close out of Firefox here. I'll try to explain what context menu is. Let's go to. So let's just go with this pictures folder. If I right click, this is the context menu. So when it says right here, update context menu, add open folder as project. What that would do is add to the context menu here. There'll be something that says open this folder with PyCharm. And I think it's actually nice because if you have a folder that you know is a Python project folder, you can just click open with, you can right click and then say open with PyCharm. It's just a quick way of opening up a project in PyCharm from a folder that you're navigating to. Associate.py files. So .py is just your Python files. So if there's a .py file, Windows isn't going to know what to do with it. If you associate PyCharm with it, you double click the Py file and it will open in PyCharm Community Edition. So if this is your only IDE, go ahead and check that. And I thought I checked this, but I'm going to check it again. Update variable, update path variable. This one's a little more difficult to understand, but if you use the command prompt, so if I just go down here and search for CMD, this is command prompt. Basically, it lets you start PyCharm by typing in PyCharm on the command line. So you could just double click on the desktop icon, or if you want, you can enable it and start it from PyCharm here through the command prompt. If I hit enter over here, it's going to say not recognized as a command. So I'm going to say yes. This is going to restart my computer. That's fine. I'm just going to go with the default installation. And it looks like we already got our icon over here on the desktop. And I'll be back when this is done extracting. PyCharm is now installed. We need to reboot the computer for that system variable path to be completed. So I'm going to go ahead and restart now. All right, now we restarted. Just go down here to the search bar. Let's just type in env, and we'll take a quick look at our environmental variables of the computer. So if we go under the variables for my name, for TechET, for the user TechET, which I'm signed in under, if I go under path, select that, and then click edit, you can see this PyCharm Community Edition with the percent signs before and after. That is the environmental variable that it just added. And so what that does is gives us the ability to either double click here on the icon to start up PyCharm. It's thinking about it. Let's get rid of this. And there's the user agreement we got to agree to, which I'm not going to because I want to do this in the command prompt. So back here to search, type in CMD, command prompt, open up command prompt. Now type in PyCharm. Enter. And this time it actually found PyCharm, and it did the exact same thing as clicking on double clicking on the icon here. So, I mean, if you like to use a command prompt, you could install the path variable. If not, it probably isn't going to matter too much to you. So, that's what that does. All right, read all that, agree, send anonymous statistics. Sure, I'll send anonymous statistics. I would love to. All right, so there we go. We got PyCharm. Let's just see if it's all working here. We have a little bit more work to do. So we created a project. Now we want to create a new environment using, we'll just do a virtual environment. So we'll create a virtual environment, the location of our virtual environment. It named our project Python project. So Python project, and then our virtual environment will be inside of our project. And let's go ahead and create this. And it's going to create a main.py. I can't highlight that. Main.py welcome script. Okay, so it'll welcome us with a script. That's pretty cool. That's so thoughtful. And instead we get a welcome message of error with a big red exclamation point. Not so welcoming. All right, so we'll go fix this. It says Python is not found but can be installed from Microsoft Store. All right, so we got to go install Python, and you can use the Microsoft Store if you want. I'm just going to close the tip. I'm going to close out of PyCharm. Yes, I want to exit. So let's go back to Firefox. Let's go back to search. Let's search for Python this time. Or like I said, you could use the Windows Store. So let's click on Python. We're looking for a download for Windows. So let's go downloads. Let's go Windows. Python release for Windows. So here's the Python release for Windows. Here's the latest release, Python 3. And then the latest release for Python 2. I like Python 3. I highly recommend it. It's the latest version. Python 2 is kind of really not supported anymore much. So if you get a Python 2 project, I would update it to Python 3 and create a new project. I would definitely start out with Python 3. So that's where we're going to click. And let's scroll down here. I kind of got this web page zoomed in a little so it's easier for you to see. Let's see, we scroll down to the bottom where it says files. So files, we got versions. And we clicked on Windows, but it still gives us Mac installer. So what we're looking for is Windows. And we'll have to decide if we need the Windows 32 or 64-bit version. So if we find the search bar down here, we type in control panel, C-O-N. Come on. C-O-N-T or C-N-T, I guess, works. Control panel, open up the control panel real quick. Go to System and Security. Find the system here. Click on System. And right here, System Type. We are running a 64-bit operating system. If it does not say 64-bit, it says 32 or x84. Then you're running the 32-bit processor. But we have a 64-bit operating system with x64 based processor. So we're 64-bit processor. So we want the 64-bit version. So these three right here would be the 64-bit version. It's kind of hard to see these. And the three below it are the 32-bit, the x86. Sorry, I said 84 earlier. x86 would be the 32-bit version. But most operating systems are 64-bit nowadays, so that's what I'd recommend. This one's a zip file. It'll zip download a little faster. This is the executable, and this is a web-based installer. So I'm just going to download the executable. It's a little slower, but I don't have to unzip it that way. It'd be a little easier. So this will download the exe file for a 64-bit Python 3.8.5 installation. Click Save, and it is downloading up here, and we will work with it here in a second. Alright, it's downloaded. We go and click on it to open it. And I'm going to close Firefox here, so we have no other programs open. I'm just going to go install now. Yes, I will give it access to my computer. And it will install Python 3 on our Windows system. Alright, we are successful in our installation of Python 3. Down here, disable path limit. I don't know if you ever ran into this, but there is a path limit on how deep you can go into folders. So if you click on, let's just go to desktop, click on, why isn't it showing me the actual path in there? C, let's go users, let's go techie, let's go desktop. We click here. Alright, so we have C, users, techie T, desktop. That is the path, and if you count all the characters, you can only have 260 characters on a Windows machine before it gives you an error that says the path is basically too long and it can't do anything about it. So this will attempt to bypass it for, I believe, just Python. I'm not an absolute expert at this, but I would recommend going ahead and clicking on that because we have a very long path already. The default path it installs Python on is very long. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that and let it try to bypass that limit. So Python is now set up and installed. Let's go ahead and close this. And I don't think we could actually access Python from the command line. So let's go to Start and search for CMD. Let's type in Python. And it goes to the Windows Store because it wants us to download Python. So we don't have a system environment variable, but I don't know if I'm going to set this up because we're just installing Python for the sake of PyCharm. But if you want to access PyCharm via the command prompt, you have to find where it's located. So right here's where it installed it. Let's go right click, let's go more, let's go open file location. Let's see. Now this is the start menu. That's not the actual one we want because that's just the start icon. Let's just skip that. If you want to, you can Google how to add a path variable for Python Windows 10, and they will show you how to enter the environment variable for Windows. But we don't really need that because we're using PyCharm. So let's go ahead and open up PyCharm again. Must have clicked on the debug here. The little red arrow is a debug line, so it stopped the script right there to debug. Alright, so no Python interpreter configuration for this project. Alright, so here's another issue you might run into. Windows Defender might impact performance. Windows Defender likes to scan files and stuff and likes to scan your projects. So let's just go ahead and exclude this project directory from Windows Defender because we are not writing malicious code. At least I hope you're not. Go ahead and create configure automatically. Yes, I give it permission. And there we go. Done. And the next very important thing is go up and type in search. Click the search box. Type in theme. Now click on theme, and right now we're IntelliJ Light. We can go Windows 10 Light. We can go high contrast for a throwback to the old days, but it still kind of makes my eye hurt. What we really want to do is go Dracula. Dracula is a nice dark theme that doesn't make my eye and my other eye hurt. Alright, so that looks much better. So now we have to go up here and configure the Python interpreter. Let's go ahead and let's just go to the interpreter settings. And we have no interpreter. So let's go ahead and click the little gear icon to the right and let's add one. So we want a new environment, and it's a virtual environment. Now the location is going to be placed inside of our project. So our project is named Python project, and it's going to create the environment basically inside of our project, a virtual environment inside of our project. The defaults here are fine. Let's just go ahead and click OK. And if you actually, right here, the base interpreter, that's what we now have. So under C, users, app data, Python 3.8, Python exe. So this is what we just installed, and PyCharm knows that we now have a base interpreter. It knows that we have Python installed. It's going to use that as a base, and it's going to create a virtual environment based off of Python 3. So if you want to run Python 2, you could also install Python 2 and then create a Python 2 project and just use your base interpreter as Python 2 and actually run multiple versions of Python, that are individually specific to each project. So I could have one project running Python 3 and then another older project that I have to support that still has Python 2. I could easily get a Python 2 interpreter and get it to work for that legacy project that I have to maintain. So that's very powerful, and I recommend going with a virtual environment over here instead of any of the other ones here, because it just gives you more flexibility. I like to run a virtual environment in pretty much every one of my projects has its own specific environment. Alright, so let's click OK, and it'll take a minute here to set up the environment. And if you notice, it's installing pip, and pip is what you would use to download things using the command line for Python a lot of times to download libraries, and PyCharm has downloaded pip for us, which is kind of cool because that's what it used behind the scenes. Alright, so we now have our interpreter is Python 3.8. That's the one we downloaded, Python 3.8 for this project. Let's go ahead and click OK down here. Alright, so let's open up the project here. So we have project, and then we have the main py, and that's what's open here already. And right here is what it just created, the library root, the virtual environment. So if we open that up, this is what all the folders and files that the virtual environment needs. So we really don't ever have to mess with any of this stuff, but this is the Python 3 basically implementation for this individual project. So we're not using the global one we just installed on the computer. Basically, we're making a copy of that and using that for this project, if that makes sense. Which is very powerful because, in this virtual environment, we use Python 3. If we wanted another project, we can install Python 2 on our computer and then set it up for Python 2. Alright, so let's go ahead and main py. Let's go up here and click the run main. And right here we get the output, which prints hi name. And right here by default, the name is PyCharm, so hi name. So the Python interpreter is set up correctly. We now have PyCharm up and running, and that's really all we need. I'm going to go a little step further and let's just create a file for practice. But I mean, this is really all you need. If you want to stop here, you can. I'm just going to create a new Python file called demo, and inside of demo, let's just print Let's just go with hello world, because I feel like it's just tradition, you know? We have to say hello world. All right, so let's go ahead and run hello world. Hi, PyCharm. No, I want hello world. Okay, so it is still running main up here. If you click the drop down, it's still on main, so it's still running this main Python file. So in order to change that, click the drop down up here and hit edit configuration. So where it says script path, this is the script path to main py, which is over here, main py, which if we move it over, main py. So if we click on the folder icon next to it, we see main pi or main py, and then we also see our demo folder that was created. So let's highlight that and click OK, or just double click on it, whichever you prefer. Now the path, the script path, is going to our demo script. So click OK, and now it doesn't say main, it says demo up here. This is demo, that one we just created. Click play. There we go. Hello world. Alright, so now we know how to run our code and how to run a individual script up here. Let's just go one step further. Let's just import main. We want the main script here. Not the best name for a file because main is used for a lot of other things. So let's import main. Let's print, let's see, let's go main. So this would be going into the main file now. So there's a definition of print hi. So since we're importing main, we now have access to all the functions in main. So let's go main dot print hi and put your name in there. And don't put Darren, that's my name. All right, so let's go ahead and run it. Hello world, hi Darren. Hey, there we go. PyCharm knows my name. It's so welcoming. So that's been it in a nutshell. It's been pretty in-depth, but I hope you guys get a good grasp of what PyCharm is and what some of the basics are of it, and hopefully I didn't confuse too many of you. Yeah, that's really all I got. So thanks for watching, and have fun with PyCharm. It is a great IDE. Okay, so earlier we installed Python 3, but we didn't set the path in our environmental variables. So we're going to go back and do that now. So let's open up PyCharm Community Edition. When it gets done loading, we're going to go up to File. We're going to go New Project. So base interpreter. This is the location of where we installed Python 3. And let's go ahead and open up the search bar down here. Let's type in this. Look for this PC. And then now let's go find the base interpreter path. So we got C here. So let's open up our C drive. Next we got users. Then my username, techie, then app data. And there's no app data. So this is a hidden file, or hidden folder I should say. So app data is a hidden folder. Let's go back to our search bar down here and let's look for hidden files. So type in hidden, show hidden files, click on that, and it already knows that we want to change this system. It already checked the box for us. Change settings to show hidden and system files. So that's already checked. Let's go ahead and hit apply. Now we can close this down. So now we can see the hidden folders. So now we can see this next part of the path, the app data. So double click app data. Next is local. Next is programs. Next is Python, Python 3. And then this would be the location that we need to, this would be the path that we have to add to our system variables. So let's go ahead and copy this. Let me show you what I'm talking about real quick. Let's go ahead and open up command prompt again. Let's open up, let's do the search bar down here, type in CMD, open it up, and actually, never mind, let's close this. Let's go up to here and type in highlight everything, click off somewhere where there's nothing there to highlight the whole path, and type in CMD. Now it opened up command prompt with the path that we're currently in. So let's type in Python. And there we go. We got Python 3.8.5. That's what we installed. So we can use Python from the command prompt. We don't have to add any system variables, but if you want to use it currently, you have to go to the path that Python 3 is installed before you could actually execute any Python, before you can actually interpret anything with Python. So let's go ahead and exit out of this. Now let's go down to the search bar here. Let's go search and let's type in command CMD to open up the command prompt. Now let's type in Python. And it takes us to the Windows Store to try to go download Python. So that's what the system variable is going to, the environment variable that we are going to specify will allow us to use Python from anywhere. And basically we just set the path to where our Python exe is located, and then we can type in Python from anywhere. But right now we have to type in this whole entire path to get to that Python exe from the command prompt. But if we set this system variable to this location all the way up to where the Python is, then it'll know Python exe is in our system variable, so it'll look there for Python. Right now it doesn't know where to look. It looks in the variables, it doesn't see it, so we don't get any response from our command prompt right now. So let's close this down. All right, but the one thing I don't like is the way that Python is under this app data, this hidden folder. I don't like where it's stored. So I'm going to click on programs up here, and there are Python folders inside of that. What I'm going to do is find the Python folder, right click, and if you want to, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to move the Python folder to the C drive just so it's easier to find. But if you don't want to do that, just double click here, double click on the Python 3.8, and click over here off to the right of all of our folders and our path up here. That'll give us the full path and it'll highlight it for us. Just right click and you can just copy this. And this is the path variable that we'd enter in our environmental variables. But I am going to click off of it down here. I'm going to go back to programs and I'm going to find this Python file. I'm going to right click it. I'm going to cut. Then I am going to go back all the way to this PC. I'm going to go under hard drive C. I'm going to right click. Then I am going to paste. Okay, so I now pasted Python into C drive, Python, and then Python 3.8. And this is nice because if you want to install Python 2, you can install Python 2 and do a custom installation and set the path to Python, and then Python 2 would be here, and then we got Python 3.8. So Python 3.8, this is one of the paths we're going to need. Let's go ahead and copy this. Let's go down here. Let's search for environmental variables, so env, and edit system environment variables. Click on that. Down here, environment variables, click on this. Now let's go under system variables. Let's go under path, and let's click edit. So we already got some variables. We're going to add a new one. We're actually going to add two new ones. So we got it copied in the clipboard. Let's go ahead and paste it. And I don't know if you need it or not, but I'm going to add another backslash. So Python, C, Python, Python 3.8. Click OK. If we go back to it, this is the same one that we just had, Python, Python 3.8, and you should find the exe file in there. So python.exe is in that path. So that's the path we want to pass to it. And we also need one more path in our variables, and that's scripts down here. So double click on the scripts. Now we have the scripts. I clicked over here to highlight it all. So let's copy the path to the scripts folder. So right click, copy. And I still got my environmental variables open up here. Let's click on it again. Let's go to paths. Let's go edit one more time. So we already got our Python path in there. And we want to add a new path. And then right click and then go ahead and paste it in there. And I'm going to add a backslash toward the end of the scripts folder. I'm not sure if I need to, but I'm going to anyways. You might have to restart your computer in order for this to take effect, but if we did everything correctly and we set up the paths in our environment variables correctly, we should now be able to open up our command prompt again. Let's go search for cmd one more time. And I don't think this is going to work until we reset the computer, but let's type in Python. And I guess we don't have to reset the computer. So now we have the Python variable set, so you could access Python anywhere you want. So now we can just say print, I don't know, I never use the command line. There we go. We just printed hi using the command line. So we can now access Python from anywhere. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to start the command prompt in that exact dictionary where that exe file is for Python. We can execute it anywhere by just typing Python. So I think that completes our tutorial. Let's go ahead and make sure we didn't break anything. Let's go close all of our, okay, let's cancel. We got, it's re-indexing, so I think PyCharm knows that we were messing with Python and where Python was located at. So let's exit out of PyCharm. Let's enter PyCharm again. Let's make sure that script we set up earlier still works. Our project, first project we created, let's see if it'll still execute. So we're on the demo. Let's go ahead and run the demo. And there we go, no Python. So since we changed our Python 3 path, the virtual environment is no longer able to reference it. So I think the easiest way is just to right click here and let's just delete it. And it's asking if we're sure, and this is just a test project, so it doesn't really matter. If you have a lot of projects already set up, then maybe don't move your Python 3, and maybe right now just move it back if you did already move it. But for a new installation of Python, I would go ahead and just remove the environment, remove the virtual environment here, and then it's going to say that our interpreter is not set up, so we just go back and configure it because we just deleted it basically. So let's add an interpreter. It can't find the base interpreter. It's looking under the wrong location here. So we moved our base interpreter. So let's go ahead and enter. Click the little button over there to select where it's at. Let's go C. Let's go. Where did we put it? Oh yeah, we put it under Python, and then 3.8, and then Python.exe. There we go. Okay, so leave everything else set. This is just like what we did before. Click OK. And it should create a new virtual environment based off of the new path of Python 3. And hopefully everything goes well. Alright, looks like the virtual environment is set up. Let's go ahead and click the Run Demo button again, and there we go. We got it back. So, like I said, if you had Python installed in the past, I would not move it, but if you created a new Python, you can go ahead and move it around without too much trouble, but you might have to update the path on some of your projects, or in my case, I just deleted the virtual environment because it was easier to do that and then reinstall it. But I think you could actually change the path of the virtual environment, the root path. But all right, so looks like we are up and running. Let's just create a new project just to test it. And there we go. Base interpreter, C, Python, Python 3.8, Python exe. That's our new path for Python. So all of our new projects will be based off this new Python path. And I think it's just a cleaner location for Python to be stored. So now I feel like Adding this little bit to the video will complete it. You will now have a complete setup of Python on your computer. And hopefully you gained a little knowledge about how virtual environments work and how Python is installed on your computer. And hopefully you know where it's installed now. All right, I'm going to exit out. I am done. Thank you guys so much for watching. Exit.